I have been joined by state-registered nutritionist Akosua Konadu Yiadom. Good morning, Akosua.
Good morning, Dziffa.
How are you?
I'm fine, yourself?
I'm good. Now, how important is it for us to know what to feed our children, what not to feed them after we finish exclusively breastfeeding them?
Yes, it's a very sensitive topic we are talking about today because day in and day out you have mothers coming to the facility or the hospital saying that, okay, you wanted me to do exclusive breastfeeding, I've done it, and now my child doesn't want to eat. I'm struggling to give my child the family foods or the complementary feeds. But we also say that it is very critical for every mother or parent, because you have fathers also doing it, yes, to pay attention to the appropriate complementary feed, because this is what we will get used to. The cocoa, the oats, the wheat, the family foods basically is what we are going to depend on for the rest of our lives. We wouldn't be babies forever. Yeah. After 2 years, after 3, we start taking what every healthy adult can take. And so we have to pay critical attention to it. It wouldn't be easy for you as a mother, a father, or a parent. It wouldn't be very, very easy. I wouldn't lie to you. It's very difficult. It can be very, very difficult, depending on how your child decides to respond to it. So you can have a child who at 6 months, I've seen some, Dziffa, whatever you are eating, they want to eat. You can have a child who probably would take pepper that you, Dziffa, can take, and they will be okay. So I always say that you'd have to pay attention to your child and deal with your child as an individual. Because what I did for my child will be different from what Dziffa is going to do for her child. We have to make sure we are doing the complementary feeds or introducing family foods, regardless how difficult it is. And last week we spoke about the fact that it would take up to 8 to 15 times for a child to accept a food. So after exclusive breastfeeding, that is 0 to 6 months, you have to make sure child is taking just breast milk, and you are feeding every 2 hours. That's the WHO protocol. But we have children who can go every 45 minutes. So what we tell mothers is that you feed baby on demand. Because there are some babies 45 minutes, 1 hour. There are some mothers doing 1 hour, 30 minutes. And so the benefits or the results will be clear for us all to judge. Okay, this is a child who was exclusively breastfed, and this child looks well nourished. Yes, and so we have to make sure that we are introducing it at 6 months. And sometimes the reason why some children wouldn't accept it also has to do with the fact that we do it very late.
Very late? Is there such a thing as a late introduction? The introduction
is late, because you can have a mother come in 7 months. Okay, I tried giving my child this and the child wouldn't eat. So I thought once I can make a lot of breast milk, let me just continue with the breastfeeding. You can have a mother doing 8 months, 9 months of exclusive breastfeeding. At age 6 months, the child's weight medically is expected to double. So if you had a child at with a birth weight of, let's say, 3 kg, it is expected that by 6 months, this child should double and so be 6 kg. But if you did exclusive breastfeeding and Dziffa, you come in and your child instead of 6 has 9, I will clap for you. Because it means that you really have done this child so much good, because every goodness the child needed from the breast, you have given to this child, and the child's body has so accepted it. That's why we are getting 9 instead of 6. But if you did formulas, for instance, it's something we are preaching against. Formula is not for everybody.
What's so wrong with mothers choosing to feed their children formulas?
Okay, Dziffa, you realize that we wouldn't rule formula out outrightly, but formula wasn't made for everybody. I will say this today, tomorrow, and wherever I will stand. Formula is for that mother who is struggling to make milk. For instance, a mother delivers, and Dziffa, sometimes they can't even move their body. For instance, the CS mothers, you go to theater recovery to attend to them, and you realize that this mother is so unstable. This mother looks so sick. Or the child was born with a low blood sugar level. That way, if that's true, I wouldn't want to make examples. So medically, there's something we have to give to the child. We take the child to NICU, where we call NICU, and then make sure we stabilize the child, bring the child back to, let's say, a normal range, and go in with breast milk. So if you are not sick as a mother, and the WHO says that, the World Health Organization says that there are 1% of all women who will never be able to breastfeed.
Okay.
So the same way childbearing is not for every woman. Breastfeeding, we have a percentage of women who will never or may never be able to breastfeed. So if you are a mother like that, obviously we don't expect you to give that new baby kokonte or bankun. So you need to step in with formula. Formula is just like a midwife would say, you've given birth to a human being. So
that should be your last resort.
So that is your last resort. Okay. And sometimes the blood sugar is so low that we want to save the young baby. Then we have to step in. But even with that, after the baby is stabilized, you go in with your exclusive. It doesn't distort exclusive. You still continue. And then let's say a mother gets pregnant or gives birth. We now realize that, okay, prior to childbirth, she has, let's say, HIV or any communicable disease. We wouldn't want to expose the child to this unfortunate occurrence. So we need to step in with that. So if you don't belong to these categories, Dziffa, and you can get breast milk. We'll talk about that later. Sometimes we need to make sure we even stimulate the breast. There are mothers who come to the labor room and their breast ducts are already open, ready to go through breastfeeding. So we have to make sure that certain things are done. And I know we can't exhaust everything over this conversation, but it's about complementary feed, and that's what we have to focus on, Dziffa. Yes, you make sure. That's the reason why you don't go in with formula.
Okay. So we're going to talk about even where to start from when you're done exclusively breastfeeding your child and you're like, I want to feed them. Where to start from, okay? And of course, you at home, if you have any questions, for state registered nutritionist Akosua Konadu Yiadom, we want to hear them. So use the hashtag Breakfast Daily. If you're watching on Facebook, you can comment. And if you want to reach us directly, the WhatsApp line is 0550-585-832. Akosua,
yep.
So where do we even start from? So I've been exclusively breastfeeding my child for 6 months. Now I want to feed her some proper meals, but where do I start from?
Okay, so at 6 months, you've done so well. But now, because the baby's weight has doubled, the needs as far as nutrition, the nutrients the body will need, the baby's need, health, physical, nutritional needs will also rise. And so you need to step in with the family foods or the complementary feeds. But you realize that most of the time we want to buy the cereal mix, what is canned, what is made, that is what we feel is food. Yeah. But there is a clue or there's something, even last week I mentioned it, if you start with sugar and you want me to take soup later, you struggle.
Yeah.
Yes, so make sure you carefully introduce what you are eating as a family to the child. Okay. Now you are eating fufu and then live soup. Dziffa, I wouldn't expect you to give a child at 6 months
fufu and
live soup. Now, what you do is that you make sure you have interesting bowls. Children don't like white bowls. They don't. What is white to them? They want loud colors.
Okay,
orange,
so very bright colors.
Red, green. You get those bowls and make sure their foods are always sitting in there. Okay. And there is one thing we get wrong. Okay, so you made cocoa. You are not eating cocoa. You are eating palm nut soup with banku, and then something, let's say yellow in color, and now you are giving the child something white. They are no fools, Dziffa. I tell mothers.
So they want what you're eating.
So there is this local thing we say that whatever you are eating, Dziffa, if you put inside their mouth, they take.
So that's the trick.
That's the trick. Make sure, yes, they have to start eating the family meals, but obviously they can't start taking the boiling cubes, the hard spices, the hot chili peppers sitting in some of our food. Like I said, if your child can handle it, I know a child who can handle it. Yes, but if it's something you are introducing, you have to take it easy with the child and wait for the child to gradually accept it. You can do it, count 8 to 15 times before you can draw a conclusion that, okay, my child doesn't look like this, and study how their bodies are reacting to a particular food. Okay. Because some have allergies, some have food aversions. Yeah. And so you'd have to make sure. Motherhood, I have now come to understand why elsewhere people want to have a child or two. It's a serious thing for your child to be eating, for you as a mother or parent to be monitoring and seeing and looking out for certain things as far as how the body is accepting these meals are concerned. So if you start slowly. Okay. This cocoa, what we have
a lot on our plate this morning. Walk us through. So this is raw Tom Brown, right?
Yes.
This is the Tom Brown in its raw form before we cook. This is
what condo?
Condo. Okay.
More, right? Yes. Hey, Dziffa
so we have Tom Brown, we have Mori, and then we have it cooked.
Yes.
So this is this Tom Brown?
Yes.
Okay, this is cooked Tom Brown.
And then we added a bit of millet to it.
Okay. So it's a mixture of Tom Brown and...
You can make your own cereal mix. Okay. So you can I can decide to have Tom Brown. Just do some roasted corn. I had an image of roasted corn.
We'll take a look at that.
You dry it, mail it. There are mothers making their own cereal mix.
Okay.
And I always say that we are so blessed. In Ghana,
we have them in abundance.
We have them in abundance.
We're looking at
so
corn.
what you want to chew, you just have to make sure everything come off.
Okay.
You dry it and then mail it to make the powder out of it.
Okay.
Yes.
So some people add soya beans.
Soya is excellent. Okay. It helps. You need to make sure now, when you start with complementary feeds, your children or your child's food needs to be fortified.
Okay.
Because that child can't be taking the beef, that child can't be taking the salmon, that child can't be taking certain
they still need the iron.
But they still will need the iron. Thank you so much, Dziffa. So you make sure that you fortify their meals. For instance, if I'm going to have corn porridge or morocco for my child, I can fortify it with a bit of soya to make sure that I pump a lot of goodness. So you come for weighing, and some mothers are jealous of other mothers, their babies. They are not doing any magic. You just have to work for it. So
the whole process should be very hands-on. I think some mothers are afraid, so they just go pick whatever canned thing is on the shelf, and they will tell you it has blah 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 blah. And you're like, okay,
and
if I feed my child,
we are giving the children allergies. Some are becoming asthmatic. I'm telling you, they are hard time consequences, and they come to the facility every day, and Dziffa, you can clearly see this has nothing to do with I'm from a rich home, I'm from a poor home. I always say that those, excuse me for my language, I love you guys so much. Children raised up in the villages, they don't have some of the things we have here in Accra. Because they eat
healthy meals,
organic meals, what we are eating in the house. They don't buy all these things, certain canned stuff. Because what happens is that sometimes you read the nutritional facts, which a lot of us as parents or fathers don't read. We just pick them up, and you realize that there is a lot sitting in there. Ask yourself, is the digestive system of this child so strong like yours to break down every nutrient written on that product?
And speaking of products, I read somewhere that if you can't understand what's written there, then it's
feed
probably
your
not
child
good for you.
Yes, you should. It's something about food labeling. We've not treated that yet, but it's something we plan to discuss. Dziffa, if you can't read, and sometimes you go to the market and you find a product with Chinese, with whatever written on it.
And that's illegal, actually, in this country,
it is
to have something that's not in English.
A product is supposed to have something Ghana, our acceptable language is English, so you'd have to make sure it is written in a language we can understand.
So if you are preparing the condo porridge, for instance.
Morocco, please.
Condo porridge. How do you ensure that your child is not only getting carbs, but they're getting the other nutrients that they will need to be healthy?
Okay, so you obviously will need sugar. But I always say that sugar should be introduced gradually. You can meet mothers who don't give sugars at all. But I'm always like, Abba, you should just be a bit considerate because it will taste funny.
Okay.
Yeah, so add sugar. But I always say that we shouldn't put sugar in food so much that we can feel sugar.
Okay.
So a little sugar for taste, and then you fortify it. So if you have soya bean powder, for instance, yes, that steps in as probably your protein.
Yeah.
You can do that and just give to your child. There are mothers who would want to add milk to it. So you've given some protein, and it will bless the child with calcium, because at that age, let's say 6 months, some babies are beginning to teeth. Yes, so you are helping them as far as their bone health is concerned. And then, because vitamin D at that age is not something you get, you make sure there is sun exposure. And in some cases, there are some facilities or some professionals who will tell you to step in with supplementation.
Okay.
Yes, but everything you are doing, make sure there is a professional guide
to help you.
To help you know about what you are giving to your child. So if it's cocoa or morocco that I want to give to my child, I have morocco. I have fortified it with soya bean powder. I have a bit of sugar in there. There are mothers who, in order to improve even upon the flavor, can scoop a little bit of even margarine. Yes, on top of it, just to increase the aroma. And in that case, you've satisfied about 3 of the protocols as far as daily dietary intake is concerned. So if you've satisfied 3 out of the 6, it means that there is hope. There is banana.
I see fruits as well. What role should fruits play in feeding our children?
Everything on the 4-star diet is important for a child. The only difference here is that they are children, they are babies, and so they can't masticate or they can't chew like we will. So let's say if I have a child 6 months to 12 months or even 9 months, with this, you can make it into a smoothie.
Okay. So
when
you just
are
blend
introducing food to babies, sorry,
it's okay.
Between 6 to 9 months.
So we're looking at the bananas. Okay, we were looking at the banana on our screen.
Okay, between 6 to 9 months, you make sure that it is watery because they were taking something so watery. Breast milk is watery. So you don't have to introduce them to the complementary feeds with something so heavy. So make sure it is porry or a bit
because
watery.
they are used to the breast milk.
Yes, so that gradually they can soak it in. After 9 months to 1 year, then you can give something so thicker like this.
And is that oat?
That is
meal?
oat. But for 6 months, I recommend that you blend it.
And wheat as well. Should you
should
blend
make
the wheat?
sure it is in a powder form. And it should be very, very porry. When something is porry, like make it light. What we say, mananya light.
Yes, make it light.
Yes, make it light. It should be very porry. And then with the fruits,
so
if
you're feeding this to a 6-month-old, it wouldn't be this thick. It will be slightly lighter than this because they are so used to your breast milk that
and it should be very smooth.
Okay, so
very,
this is very smooth. So that's why in some homes you see that the mothers would actually reblend
whatever
the powder
they get from the market. And there are mothers who even strain.
Yeah, they'll sieve it a bit.
If they don't trust who milled the corn.
But is that also wrong? Because then you're taking all the fiber out.
But I will always say that, Dziffa, a child can't, if I should give, let's say, watermelon, which is the softest, one of the softest to a child, I'm not sure the child even at 6 months. So make sure everything at 6 months is watery. Make juices out of it and gradually introduce. 9 months to 1 year, I'm sure now you start with the hand-picked food. You can give a child watermelon and then they will just take every liquid out and probably throw it away, but gradually they will get there. After 2 years, they can be mounting on this.
And you can also blend fruits as well around the same time.
So make sure every goodness you are getting, they are getting it. It's just that you just have to find a nicer way. They can't eat the fufu, but you can have a piece of yam on the cassava. When it's cooked, you fetch some of the soup before you add your spices and your hot pepper, and then you make something nice out of it. So you are eating fufu and soup. Okay, I have soup and something white also eating, and it's easier for them to accept.
Thank you so much, Akosua Konadu Yiadom, for being with us. Where do we contact you if you want to find out more information? Okay, so on Instagram, I am there at the nutritionist Akosua. On Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Nutritionist Akosua. And you can call me on 02434. No, I don't want to give that number. 0243 350206. 0243 350206. Okay, and there you have it. State registered nutritionist Akosua Konadu Yiadom. Okay, so after 6 months, we can begin to introduce the meals we eat to our kids. But it's important for us to make sure that they are watery and we pump all the nutrients they need in there. Don't go to the supermarket and buy canned stuff if you can't really understand what's in them because they might not be good for your children.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends. This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.